I wasn't asking for much. Just a little peace after work, a quiet paddle, and maybe some alone time out on the water where no one's breathing down your neck about trash bins or fence paint colors. That's why I bought the kayak. It wasn't even a big one, just a single-seater, bright blue, 9-footer. Cost me a couple $100, and it instantly became my escape. Every evening, I'd toss it on top of my car, drive 15 minutes to the lake, and just breathe. Now obviously, when you own a kayak, you have to store the kayak. So I did what any normal person would do. I kept it along the side of my house, neatly tied down, covered, not blocking anything. Not on the street. Not in the neighbor's yard. Just tucked in next to my trash cans like a responsible adult. But apparently, peace and kayaks don't belong on Karen's street. Because within a week of moving it there, I saw her. Arms crossed. Sunglasses on. Phone out. Just standing in front of my driveway, staring at my kayak like it was leaking radioactive fluid. I didn't know it yet, but that kayak was about to trigger a full-on suburban war. The next morning, I step outside to grab the paper. Yeah, I'm one of the 5 people who still gets one, and guess who's standing at the edge of my driveway? Karen. She doesn't say good morning. She doesn't even say hello. She just points, at the side of my house like she's discovered a crime scene. What is that? She asks. I glance over at the kayak. That's a kayak. She blinks, clearly annoyed I didn't launch into a dramatic apology. Well, she says, it's not compliant. Compliant with the HOA guidelines. She snaps, like I should have memorized them before signing my lease. You can't just leave aquatic equipment visible from the street. It's unsightly. Karen, I say, keeping my voice as neutral as I can. It's tied down, covered, and it's not blocking anything. She leans forward a little, lowering her sunglasses like she's about to read me my rights. I'll be submitting a formal complaint, she says. Then she walks off, heels clicking like a judge leaving the courtroom. And you know what? I thought that was the end of it. Maybe I'd get a warning letter. Maybe I'd have to move it behind the fence. Whatever. But Karen? Karen doesn't warn. Karen acts. And what she did next? That's when this whole thing went from mildly annoying to completely insane. 2 days later, I get home from work and there it is, tucked neatly into my mailbox like it had been delivered by a smug little elf. An official HOA violation notice. Printed on that off-white, overly serious paper they use to make passive-aggressive threats feel professional. Notice of non-compliance. Unauthorized storage of recreational watercraft in visible location. All personal vessels must be stored in enclosed areas or behind fencing out of public view. Personal vessels. Like I was out here parking a 40-foot yacht in my driveway. They gave me 5 days to remove it, or face escalating fines of $50 per day. I actually laughed out loud reading it. Not because it was funny, but because of how absurdly dramatic it was. So what do? I do the reasonable thing. I move the kayak a little further back along the side of the house, stack a few storage bins around it, and even toss a little camo tarp over the top. Out of sight. Out of mind. Or so I thought. But see, I was still thinking like a normal person. I hadn't yet accepted that Karen was playing a different game. One with no rules, no boundaries, and apparently, no chill. Because just when I thought I'd de-escalated the situation, Karen escalated it for me. So it's day 3 after the warning, and I'm thinking I've got a little time to sort things out, maybe build a small fence panel, whatever. I wasn't ignoring the HOA, I was just moving like a normal human who has a job. But apparently Karen has a stopwatch. Because I come home from work that Friday, walk into my yard, and the kayak is gone. At first, I thought maybe someone stole it. But who steals a kayak from the side of a house in broad daylight? Then I see it. Another crisp envelope taped to my front door, this time from a towing company. We have removed an unregistered recreational vessel from the premises per authorization of HOA enforcement. I swear to you, I had to read it 3 times. Karen had called a towing company and had my kayak taken away. A kayak that was tied down, on private property, with a cover. And she didn't even wait for the deadline. No follow-up, no second warning, just a full-blown suburban SWAT response to a blue piece of plastic that happened to be shaped like a boat. I was fuming. This wasn't about the rules anymore. This was about control. She didn't want the kayak gone. She wanted to prove she could make it disappear. And that's when I realized. If Karen wanted a war, I was about to give her one she'd never forget. The moment I saw that recreational vessel removal slip tape to my door, something in me snapped. It wasn't just the kayak. It was the violation of basic sanity. She'd crossed the line, not just as a neighbor, but as a human being. Who tows a kayak from private property like it's a junked car? Who even knows a towing company that handles kayaks? And let's be clear, this wasn't some rusty canoe with moss growing on it. This was a clean, covered, neatly stored piece of my peace of mind. I stormed inside, called the tow company, and confirmed it. Yes, they had it. Yes, Karen had authority, as part of the HOA board. No, they didn't check with me. And yes, I'd have to pay to get it back. That was the moment I stopped playing defense. I grabbed the HOA handbook, poured myself a coffee, and started flipping through pages like I was prepping for trial. If Karen wanted to use the rulebook as a weapon, fine. But I was going to use it as a blueprint for revenge. And then I saw it. A tiny clause buried in the Community Installations section. One that mentioned water hookups, noise permits, drainage requirements, and unregistered hydrotherapy units. aka hot tubs. Karen's hot tub. The massive one I'd seen humming and bubbling behind her fence for the past year, glowing like the throne of a suburban dictator. It wasn't just big. It was suspicious. And suddenly, I had a mission. Now, let me be clear, I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for justice, that just happened to be wrapped in sweet, poetic karma. So I did what Karen probably never imagined I'd do. I researched. I went full suburban detective. I pulled up the HOA's bylaws, city zoning ordinances, even the building permit records. It took less than an hour to confirm what I already suspected. Karen's hot tub was illegal in more ways than one. First of all, no permit. None. Nada. There wasn't a single record of any approval for a hot tub installation on her property. That alone was a finable offense. Second, get this, her hot tub wasn't electric. It had been modified to hook into the shared community water line. That's a direct violation of the HOA's plumbing policy and local water safety regulations. But the cherry on top? Her drainage system. She'd rerouted her overflow pipe straight into a community storm drain. And that, my friend, wasn't just an HOA issue. That was an environmental hazard. And suddenly, this wasn't about HOA Karen versus the guy with the kayak. This was about Karen versus the law. So I screenshotted everything, marked addresses, cross-referenced city codes, even found a drone photo someone had posted last summer that clearly showed the hot tub glowing like a neon shrine. And I knew exactly who to call. Not the HOA. Not a neighbor. The Coast Guard and the city's Environmental Compliance Division. Because Karen wanted to mess with watercraft? Fine. Let's see how she handles real authority. I thought I was done digging. I had the no permit evidence, the storm drain connection, the clear HOA violations. Honestly, that was already enough to blow this whole thing wide open. But then I stumbled on something that made this even juicier. Turns out, Karen's hot tub wasn't just illegal, it was heavily modified. See, most people plug their hot tub into an electrical source, fill it up, and enjoy some bubbles. But Karen? Oh no. Karen had upgraded hers like she was prepping it for deep-sea exploration. According to a friendly neighbor who'd seen it up close at one of her backyard. Only HOA board members invited. Wine parties her tub had. A custom water pump tapping directly into the neighborhood irrigation line. A homemade filtration system rigged through PVC pipes from a utility shed. And, no joke, a Bluetooth-enabled heating coil that was spiking her neighbor's power bills during peak hours. I looked it up. That's not just a code violation. That's tampering with shared infrastructure. She had turned her hot tub into a Frankenstein machine, drawing shared resources, dumping wastewater into city drains, and operating without a single license or inspection. At this point, it wasn't even a hot tub anymore. It was a biohazardous luxury pod. And with all the documentation in hand, I submitted it, straight to the city's environmental violations hotline. And CC'd the Coast Guard, just for fun. Because if Karen wanted to play games with my kayak, it was only fair the authorities took a little dip in hers. At this point, I had every shred of evidence neatly compiled in a folder titled Operation Boil Karen. Screenshots. City code violations. Photographs. Even a short video clip from a neighbor showing steam venting into the storm drain, like her hot tub was Loki trying to terraform the backyard. But here's the thing. I knew better than to report it to the HOA. Karen was the HOA, well, one of the board members anyway. Reporting it to them would be like turning in dirty money to the guy printing it. So instead, I went higher. Much higher. I filed a report with the Environmental Compliance Division for our city. I attached photos, permit records, or lack thereof, and even highlighted the exact bylaws she was violating. The storm drain part alone could have earned her a hefty fine. Then, just to make things extra spicy, I submitted an anonymous tip to the local Coast Guard auxiliary, noting a potential unregulated discharge from a private water system into a navigable waterway. Was it a stretch? Maybe. But my kayak got towed. I was done playing fair. And the best part? I didn't need to wait long. Because when government agencies get wind of an illegal water system connected to community infrastructure, they show up fast. It happened on a Tuesday. Mid-morning. Sky clear. Birds chirping. A perfectly quiet suburban day, until it wasn't. I was working from home, sipping coffee by the window, when I heard the unmistakable sound of official boots on pavement. Not the HOA patrol. Not Karen's passive-aggressive flip-flops. No. City inspectors. 2 of them. Wearing utility vests, holding clipboards, walking with purpose, straight to Karen's house. And right behind them? A marked vehicle from the Environmental Compliance Division. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better, a Coast Guard truck pulled up. Yes. The actual Coast Guard. Apparently, the combination of illegal discharge, storm drain violation, and unauthorized water use had triggered a multi-agency investigation. Karen didn't just bend the rules, she set off a mini environmental red alert. I peeked through the blinds like a kid watching Christmas unfold. They knocked. She opened the door, confused, bathrobe on, cucumber water in hand. 10 minutes later, they were in her backyard. And then came the moment. They shut it down. Literally. They powered off the hot tub, taped off the filtration box, and began taking photos of the piping system like it was evidence at a crime scene. Karen? She looked shattered. Hands on hips, voice raised, pacing like her hot tub was being arrested, which, in a way, it was. The Coast Guard officer handed her a document I couldn't see, but I did hear the word. Civil penalty. By noon, a crew had shown up to disconnect and haul away the entire unit for inspection. That hot tub? Gone. Just like my kayak. Only this time, I wasn't the one standing there empty-handed. Karen lost it. I mean full-on, red-faced, finger-pointing, HOA meltdown. The second the hot tub was disconnected, she started pacing in her driveway like a general who just watched her empire fall. She was on her phone, calling someone, probably the HOA president or her poor husband, ranting loud enough for half the block to hear. This is sabotage. I know who did this. This is a personal attack on wellness. Yes, she actually said. Wellness. As if dumping soapy spa water into a storm drain was part of her self-care routine. The best part? She kept looking around for someone to yell at, but no one came out. Not a single neighbor defended her. People were watching, sure, but behind blinds, behind fences. Quietly. Probably enjoying the same view I was. For once, the street was united, in silence. And I? I was sitting on my porch, coffee in hand, kayak safely back on its rack, watching her unravel like a cheap pool cover. She stormed back inside, slammed the door, and that was the last we saw of her for 3 whole days. No HOA emails. No driveway patrols. No clipboard sightings. It was like watching a tyrant go into exile. But the best part was still coming. Because not only did I get my kayak back, turns out, the entire towing was unauthorized. Karen had overstepped. Way overstepped. And now, it was her turn to explain herself to the board. About a week after the hot tub raid, I got a call from the towing company. The guy on the other end sounded sheepish, like he just realized he'd stolen a puppy. Yeah, sir, we've got a kayak here that was towed from your address? I let the silence hang a second. Right. The one that was taken without notice, authorization, or legal grounds? He cleared his throat. Yeah, so, turns out the person who signed off on the tow wasn't actually approved to authorize removals. HOA board or not, she overstepped. Karen. Again. Apparently, towing someone's personal property from their own lot without due process, even in an HOA, is a big no-no. Especially when the item in question is a kayak that wasn't violating any clearly stated policy. The guy apologized. Twice. Then offered to deliver it back free of charge. I agreed, on one condition. Strap it to the rack this time, would you? I just reinforced it. When they dropped it off, I stood in the driveway, arms crossed, watching like the proud, wronged kayak owner I was. A few neighbors walked by and gave me a nod, one even clapped. I'd gone from HOA victim to neighborhood folk hero. And Karen? She stayed inside. Curtains drawn. No sign of her. But I knew she was watching. Probably steaming in an overpriced scented bath. Because her hot tub was now sitting in a city storage yard. A week after the kayak came home, I got a letter, official HOA stationery again, but this time, it was weirdly polite. After reviewing recent events and evaluating community feedback, the HOA board has decided to revise its policy regarding recreational watercraft. Homeowners may now store kayaks and similar items on their property, provided they are secured and not obstructing shared pathways. Translation? We messed up. Karen blew it. Please don't sue us. And just like that, the very rule Karen tried to weaponize got rewritten, in my favor. No more warnings. No more threats. No more kayak drama. I built a new rack by the side of my house. Painted it a bold blue. Hung a tiny wooden sign on it that said, "Paddle responsibly." But I wasn't done yet. To celebrate, I bought an inflatable hot tub. Nothing fancy, just enough to make a point. Set it up right where the kayak used to be. Just visible enough to catch attention. Just ridiculous enough to make Karen twitch behind her blinds. And yes, completely permitted. As for Karen? She didn't show up to the next HOA meeting. Or the one after that. No more patrols. No more clipboard strutting. She'd gone quiet. Like the HOA ghost of scandals past. And honestly, I hope she's doing okay. Because me? I'm out back. Floating in my inflatable tub, kayak gleaming in the sun, drinking a cold one, and enjoying the sweet, salty air of petty justice served hot.